Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak.
Some people enjoy living in a location that has a warm climate all year. Other people like to live in a place where the seasons change. Which type of climate do you prefer, and why? Use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 2. In this question, you will read a short passage about a campus situation and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
A new policy for withdrawal from classes at the university has been established. Read the policy in the college catalog. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to the students discuss the policy with each other.
The difference in this policy from the old policy is now you only have 3 reasons to request a full refund after the first week: illness, death in the family, or military service.
Right, but that about covers it, don't you think?
Not really. In the old policy, you could drop out to help your family. Look, let's say that your mother's sick. She's not dying, but she needs care. Then what? If you drop out to help her, you just lose your tuition.
Oh, I see. So you think that there should be more flexibility?
Yeah, I think every case should be decided on its own merits. This policy is too
narrow?
Too rigid. I think at least some students will have other good reasons to withdraw, and they'll just have to take a partial reimbursement because they won't be able to document their eligibility. I'd like to see a procedure, a way to petition for eligibility. I'd like to see that added to the policy.
The student expresses her opinion of the policy for reimbursement. Report her opinion and explain the reasons that she gives for having that opinion.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 3. In this question, you will read a short passage on an academic subject and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
Now, read the passage about ballads. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a music appreciation class. The professor is talking about the Ballad of Barbara Allen.
There are countless versions of the Ballad of Barbara Allen, and although it probably originated in the British Isles, versions are found not only in the British colonies, but also in many other countries, including Italy and several countries in Scandinavia. In fact, there are almost 100 versions in the United States alone. But the version that I'm going to play for you today is the traditional child ballad, number 84, from the reference English and Scottish Popular Ballads. In it, the narrative tells the story of Barbara Allen and the young man who fell in love with her. After Barbara Allen rejects him, he dies of unrequited love. And the day after his funeral, Barbara Allen dies of regret. They are buried beside each other in the churchyard, and a red rose grows from his grave. A briar grows from her grave. That's a thorny bush. And as they twine around each other, the rose and the thorn, they form a lover's knot. So we see that the lovers who were not united in life are together in death. The music is repetitive, like most ballads, and also important to identifying it as a ballad, the second and the fourth lines of each four-line stanza rhyme.
Define a ballad, and then explain why Barbara Allen can be classified as a ballad.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Number 4. In this question, you will listen to a short lecture. You will then be asked to summarize important information from the lecture. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak.
Now listen to part of a lecture in a general science class. The professor is discussing the way that ultrasound works.
Okay, let's talk about how ultrasound works and how it's used in medical diagnosis. To make a long story short, ultrasound is very similar to the sonar devices we discussed last week. Remember the system that emits ultrasonic pulses and listens for reflected pulses from objects in the ocean? Well, ultrasound is really just another type of sonar. The sound waves used in the ultrasound are created by a crystal that moves rapidly back and forth, creating a sound. But you can't hear it because the frequency is so high. The doctor places the device, the transmitter that sends out the sound waves. The doctor puts that on the surface of the skin, so the sound waves are transmitted inside the body. And when this high-frequency sound is directed to a particular area, then the tissue and organs reflect the sound. The patterns of sound that are reflected are processed by a computer, and an image appears on the screen. And that tells the doctor whether there is something unusual there or not. This is very important in the diagnosis of cancer, to know whether a tumor is present, and also as a non-invasive way to monitor the growth of a fetus during pregnancy.
Using the main points and examples from the lecture, describe the kind of information that ultrasound can provide, and then explain the way that ultrasound is used in medical diagnosis.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
I've lived in a place with a warm climate all year for most of my life, but one year my family moved to England where the seasons change. I thought it was a beautiful place and I enjoyed the experience, but I was glad to be home again. In the fall, we don't have to rake leaves. In the winter, we don't have to shovel snow, and in the spring, we don't have to drive in the rain. So a warm climate's a lot less work. And I can wear the same clothes all year in a warm climate, but in a place where the seasons change, you can't. I remember putting my coats and heavy clothes away when the weather got warmer in England. Best of all, I'd like to see the sun shine every day. So maybe I'm just used to warm climate. But for now, that's my choice.
The woman thinks that the eligibility requirement for 100% refund after the second week of classes should be changed. Right now, to qualify, you have to show documentation of serious illness, injury, death of a family member, or military duty. She points out that there could be a case when a student's family might need help, but the circumstances wouldn't be covered by the policy. She suggests that there should be a way to petition for full reimbursement by explaining the situation, and each case should be decided based on the circumstances, not on such a limited number of possibilities. So her solution to the problem would be to add the option of petitioning for full refund by explaining the reason for requesting an exception.
A ballad is, and I'm quoting here, a poem that tells a story and is sung to music. Characteristic of most ballads is the rhyming of the second and fourth lines, And usually ballads are part of an oral tradition, which it means that over the years, the song's revised as it's passed down from one musician to another. Some popular ballads have been written down and assigned a number in a reference book by child. Now, Barbara Allen is classified as a ballad because it tells a story about lovers who are not united in life, but are joined symbolically in death by the rose and the thorn on their graves. The second and fourth lines of the song rhyme, and many versions of it are found around the world. One version is listed in the child reference as number 84. So you see, Barbara Allen is not only a ballad, it's a very popular one.
Ultrasound's like sonar because it sends out ultrasonic pulses, and then it picks up the reflections of the pulses. In the case of ultrasound, a crystal creates sound waves at such a high frequency that you can't hear them, but when the device that transmits the waves is placed on some part of your body, it sends the waves inside to the part that's being tested, and the organs reflect the sound waves. So that informs the doctor if you have anything suspicious there. Ultrasound's very useful in locating cancer and other growths, but it's also used in prenatal care to examine the baby in the months before it's born. In fact, it's fairly standard to produce images of babies to check their patterns of growth using ultrasound. So ultrasound's very useful for medical diagnosis because it can provide accurate information without surgery or surgical procedures.